So, Maxine. Your agent tells us you're quite a popular name in adult film and entertainment. Is that correct? I'm curious, did you always want to be in that line of work?
I always wanted to be famous.
What did you base this character on? What did you find to... Because she's great. This is a fantastic character.
Well, she's very vivid on the page, so that was all I needed in many ways. But I did some research into women who were directing at the time, and I also have worked with many female directors myself, and I've been around film sets for my whole adult life, and so she's a real kind of blur of everything. I think I didn't quite realize this at the time, but now that I know Ty a lot better, I think there's Ty in her as well. Ty is a very beautiful person to work with. He's very smart. He's also very honest. You know, there's very little there's very little ego that's getting in the way. He's not trying to trick anyone out of anything. He's just very straightforward, and I think there's some of that. You know, some of him and her. So she's a real blend. I also just really enjoyed playing her, and I really enjoyed having power. Yeah, I enjoyed having power. So, you know, and being unapologetic about it.
Yeah.
I was sort of very happy on my days on set, and I was really sad to leave this film because I could have played her for like weeks. Like, just give me more scenes where I just sort of stomp through a big set with boots on and I tell someone what to do. And it was great.
Now, Kevin, you know, you've back to horror a lot. You've been doing a lot of it and embracing it hugely. This is a, excuse the language, fucking fantastic character. How did you get into him? And what was it like working with Ty?
Well, I agree with Elizabeth. Ty is really, really a fantastic director in his strength, in his collaboration, in his calm, in his... I mean, as you can imagine, getting a movie that looks this big done on a certain budget and a certain amount of days is really, it's tough. And you never got the impression that he was freaking out, like, ever. Because he just has a great kind of confidence, and there's a difference between confidence and cockiness and ego, and he is confident, and it's great. It was a real pleasure to work with him. I just had seen his earlier work and reached out to him and said, if you have anything coming up, you know, let me know, and he did.
Well, I feel like this movie the detail is incredible. From the new Coke, you know, that kind of thing. What was it like on the set, like kind of reliving the 80s and kind of...
Just as an aside, I'd seen it 3 times, and it wasn't until last night that I noticed that she was cutting Coke with her SAG card. I didn't. It went past me, I think, because I had my eye on the Coke too much. The first 2 times, I was longingly looking at that line and then going, bring back the 80s. Go ahead, I'm sorry. What was...
It's okay, no, I love that. I want to talk about Mia. First of all, she should have gotten an Oscar for Pearl. I think she's a fantastic actress. She's brilliant in this. How is she to work with, especially this character?
She's an amazing actress, and she is... Yeah, I think I agree with you. And Kevin was saying earlier in an earlier interview that horror performances are so often overlooked by sort of awards bodies, and I really, really think that should change. And so whatever stigma is there should be removed entirely. So, but nonetheless, I'm so glad her work is so celebrated in these parts. And she has the very, you know, this is a big ensemble cast around Mia, so we all orbit around her. She had the very kind of difficult job of both doing this really immersive character work, which she just was living in that role, you could tell, but also she has to be everybody's center, and we all kind of run at her with different storylines and bounce off her, and she just has to hold that ground, and she did it so well and also very gracefully to work with as an actor. So I was very impressed by that.
Yeah, well, like, here's the thing about this movie. Like, even the script, like, there's so many... one of your lines, you describe her character beautifully. Like, without winking at the audience. it's hard. This reminds me of like Brian De Palma, Body Double, like Dress to Kill. Are you fans of the horror genre? I mean, I know you've done it. Are you still a fan of it in general?
Oh yeah, I love genre. I do, and I seek it out. I'm always looking for a new one and looking for a new way to scare people. And to me, it's like the stakes are very high, and that's something that I think is cool, both as an actor and as an audience member.
Agreed.
Before we continue with our video, here's a reminder to click the store tab on any of our JoBlo channels and browse our collection of the latest and freshest designs in our merch store. Go get you some.
I'm watching this, and as a kid, I kind of loved this stuff. My favorite movies were like Body Double, Dress to Kill, like horror movies that kind of meant something, that were willing to take a chance. You did that with these 3 films. Maxine, was this always a trilogy for you?
It started off as just one movie, as X, and then it became X and Pearl because we went to New Zealand and nobody could make movies in the whole world except for us. We were so fortunate to be doing that I felt like to tear the sets down that we built and go home was a horrible waste. So how do we make 2 movies? And because Mia Goth was already playing 2 characters, the older character in X, I said we could make a prequel. And then when I had the idea for the prequel, I had the idea for the 3rd movie, mostly because I thought we could call them X, XX, and XXX, and it could be kind of a graduation of the ratings of porn movies. And I sort of meant that jokingly, but also it could have worked. And so I pitched all of that to A24, and they liked the idea, and I said, but the one we'd have to do first is Pearl, because they were very excited about the Maxine story. And I was like, I know, but we kind of got to go back before we go forward, and if it's part 3, it will be better. And credit to them, they said, okay, we'll make X and Pearl back to back, and if it works, we'll make Maxine, and here we are. So it was never a plan, but it was always a plan that once I had the idea that they would each explore kind of a different kind of cinema influence, in the sense that the movies as a trilogy are really just kind of about cinema in a way, and about what it's like to be a part of making movies.
Yeah. You're a legend. You do these amazing roles. You've been really into horror lately.
I have been.
Yes. Well, talk about this character. What a great character.
I really love Teddy. I mean, he's just someone who has escaped his past in a really wonderful way by coming to Hollywood and recreating himself. And isn't that what we do as actors? So I really saw that correlation between me being Teddy, having to just become someone new, and his, and recognizing talent. When do you get recognized? When does someone see you for who you really are? When does someone nurture you? And all the things that you have a desire to do, but someone says, you're good at that. Do it that way. Stick to it. You're fantastic. And so all those things I could really relate to.
Oh, wow. With you, this is such a good performance. Oh, my God.
Thank you.
What was it like working with Mia and kind of having that, and facing the challenges you do in this film?
I was really kind of like terrified to work with Mia because she's so good in the subsequent films. I was just like, all right, we're going driving straight into this, but it was really great. She was really welcoming, and she was really good about being a warm presence before we started shooting, and then while shooting, she was so dedicated to nailing this character that it really made me have to sit up straight, and I had a lot of fun really diving in with her and everyone else.
Now I'm going to get back with you because you've been working. Mia is clearly a good teammate.
Yeah.
And first of all, she should, and I've said this up there, she should have gotten an Oscar.
I agree.
For Pearl.
Yeah.
And she should get one for this.
Well, you can get it out there and tell the world, and we'll appreciate it.
Do it.
Yeah.
But it's funny because it's frustrating. Because you see these great performances. We've seen it with The Babadook. We've seen it with all these films. Great performances that get completely overlooked by any kind of awards. Is that frustrating for you?
Not really. I mean, it's kind of whiny to be frustrating about it. I mean, it's sort of like, we put in a lot of work, and I think she did a tremendous job. Yeah. And it would be nice to see it recognized, because it's always nice to be recognized. But it kind of depends on, subjectively what you put value. I mean, she has been very recognized for these movies. You know what I mean? Like, people that dress up like her in these movies all the time at screenings, at Halloween. So it's fine. You know what I mean? Like, it's this has gone about as well as it could go. And it's just sort of depends on how much you care about one specific thing over another thing. And so if you care about a specific thing and then that isn't a thing, all right, that's a bummer. But, that's kind of we are very grateful to be sitting here talking about a third movie and to be having this experience together. So it's great to hear it from someone like yourself to say like, wow, I think this, because we worked really hard on it and she worked really hard and I saw her put all the work in. And you know, you want to see people that you work with be celebrated. I want to see them be celebrated. I mean, it's great, you know, and so that's all that really matters. But it doesn't matter if it's an award or just a applause break at a theater. I mean, that's all the same thing.
Fair enough, and I like the attitude. I mean, that's the best attitude to have, right? You know, this is such an amazing director. what was it like working with him? I'm sorry you're in the room because I want. I mean, he's so good. Well, for you,
I enjoyed working with Todd because I feel like he gives you a sense of freedom, but he's also very specific and very clear. You know, part of directing is a clear communication without acting it out. You know, I do a lot of movies. I've been doing it a long time, and for Ty not to get up and walk around and do what I would be doing is a testament to how he communicates. Like, to me, that's what we do as actors. We communicate dialogue that's written, and if we respect it and honor it, we can find the nuance in it and how to navigate it. And for a director to have ideas and express them verbally and say, you know, within this box, do what you want to do, and then he sees you do it and goes and gets more specific. I mean, that to me is a good director. So for me, the writing means everything. And so when you feel the nuance and the element of the writing that allows you to feel like you're on a wave, on a ride at an amusement park, that's what you want to feel. And then to be directed in a way where you feel like you have some control, but you then are able to give up that control with a great idea that guides you to a place that you're going to want to get somewhere through and from is great. I mean, there's a cut in this movie with Teddy and Mia in Teddy's office that is so freaking subtle. Like, and my one of my kids said to me, "Wow, we first of all, the editing in this movie is fantastic, Ty. I mean, it just really is, and he does all that." But they're having a moment, and Teddy takes his time and goes, oh, he has to get off the phone and talk to her. Then they're sitting down, and then his leg is up on the table. And my girls went, ooh, is something creepy going to happen right now? Ooh, and it doesn't. And they were so freaking happy. And I said, well, you realize that was a little bit of time cut. They've been talking for a little while. Subtle. But and from both of our expressions as actors, you could tell we had been in a longer conversation. That's like great filmmaking. Right? Because you don't need all that conversation. What you need is that physical, to witness that physical sense of time passing and to have the great cut and then to have that ending of that scene is fantastic. So I was excited to be, I like to be inspired. No matter how much I do or where I come to in a career, it's never in my head or my ego that, I'm better than anything. It's a collaboration that film is. And so if you're inspired by the art department, you're inspired by the director, you're inspired by your scene partner, it just changes the game because nothing's forced.
You're a fucking movie star.